The blue wave, the red tide, what is it going to be? Are the Republicans going to sweep in November? Oh my God, the clock is ticking and we are getting closer and closer to that point. So I have to wonder what exactly is going to happen. But I got this news article from the Huffington Post, and it's actually a commentary on commentary, which I'll read. But I kind of want to talk about, maybe I'll be rehashing some of this stuff, but what I saw during the Trump campaign, what's coming up, why I think I could be wrong, entirely wrong. But if I was a betting man and I was going to put money down on some chips, I would bet the Republicans are going to win. Okay? This op-ed is one of the reasons why I think day after day that the left is just going to lose. And again, I'm not a psychic. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I could absolutely be wrong. It's just my personal opinion based on reading the news every day that I really do see Trump winning, but I've got some things to back up my opinion. Okay, so first, look at the story. Trump supporters are the enemy of the Republic. A New York Times op-ed columnist. Columnist Charles M. Blow said Trump supporters' rabid enthusiasm for the president is impeding both a genuine search for truth and an honoring of it. The New York Times, who hired Sarah Jeong, who for years spewed anti-white racist comments, whether they were jokes or not, it was just Jesus. On and on for years. Really brutal stuff about being cruel to old people and just yikes. Makes me really question the New York Times. But then the New York Times has this article, and I believe I have an archive. Yes, okay, so search your souls, what's left of them, Republicans. And this is the column which came out yesterday. And I'll read this in a second, but I want to look at what Huffington Post says. So let me read a couple some paragraphs from this, and then we'll carry on. It says, although President Donald Trump consistently labels the press the enemy of the people, New York Times columnist Charles M. Blow says the president's rabid base is the real danger to the country. In a scathing new editorial, Blow calls Trump supporters the enemy of the Republic because their enthusiasm for the president is impeding both a genuine search for truth and an honoring of it. Every time Trump's followers turn a blind eye to his corruption, dishonesty, or hatred, they say to the Republicans they sent to Washington, if you are my representative, you will follow my lead and promote my desires. Yeah. In effect, that means that if the base loves Trump, the base of senators and congressmen and women are obligated to also love Trump or at least fake it. Not true at all. You know what he's really saying? And this is what's mind-blowing about this. No. According to your statement, Trump supporters are not the enemy of the people. If you are telling me that there are politicians who were voted in who would not stand up for their principles, but would pretend to like Trump even if they don't, simply because they want to get reelected, what you're telling me is that the real enemy of the people are sycophantic Congress people, senators, who don't actually care about what needs to be, what is right, what is wrong, or their own principles. What they really care about is reelection. That's what you're telling me when you say that. Am I going to blame the people because the people have individual desires and vote in a certain direction? I'm not going to blame the people. To an extent, I will, right? If you look at like the V for Vendetta, if you've ever seen the movie, when V says, if you're looking for who is responsible, you need to only look in the mirror. To an extent, that's true. But he says, certainly, there are some people who are more responsible than others. And it's true. However, I would lean more in favor of, I can't blame people for being manipulated. I can't blame people for being ripped off. Politicians, the media, they're dirty, they lie, they push agendas. And I don't think all of them do, most of them. And I think for the most part, real news organizations exist and do a good job, but we're being inundated by total bullshit. So they want to claim in this op-ed in the New York Times that Trump's basically the enemy of the people. What is their goal? Is their goal to get Trump reelected? What do you think the average person is going to think when they see this? There might be someone who voted for Trump because they didn't know. They said, I don't know, man, Hillary, like we had Bill, maybe that's not a right choice. Maybe Trump is the outsider. How many people were in the middle and just said, I really don't know. Maybe I should vote for Trump, and they did. And now this guy comes out and says that Trump voters, Trump supporters, his base, are the enemy of the Republic, or at least how they framed it in the Huffington Post. And they think, I don't want to be the bad guy. I didn't do anything wrong. I voted for what I thought was important. I can't imagine something like this is going to convince people that they should not vote for Trump. It says, Blow said Trump's base is so fervent that it makes traditional Republicans afraid to stand on principle, lest they be drummed out of politics. The end result. The voters are now Trump's noxious base, ergo Trump holds each of their fates in his hands. Okay, listen. If you're telling me If the Republicans are too afraid to stand on principle because they'll be drummed out of politics, they are the real problem. They're the leaders. They're the ones elected. They're the ones who are supposed to be passing laws and looking out for the best interests of the American people. And I would tell you what, I don't ever plan on being a politician, but if I was, and I saw something wrong, I would stand up and say straight up, I don't, listen, if you think I'm wrong and you want me to support this person who I disagree with, think they're wrong, then you can vote for someone else. I am going to stand on my principles. I am going to fight for what I think is right, and I'm going to fight for what I think is better for all of you. And if you think I'm wrong, you should vote for someone else. Period. How many politicians actually do that? Yeah, probably none. But I got to be honest. I really like Bernie Sanders. Admittedly, I've lost some confidence in him because I don't think he's strong enough. But he's so damn consistent and he's so damn honest. He's made mistakes, and no one is perfect. But I'd give him like a 7 out of 10 in terms of how much I like the guy. When he was called on to say abolish ICE, he wouldn't do it. And I was really impressed by that because so many people associated with the left are just saying abolish ICE, even though they have no idea what it really means. Even though they're mad at Customs and Border Patrol because CBP are the ones handling a lot of this immigration enforcement. They handle the borders. Bernie wouldn't do it. Now, Bernie gave it the stage to activists, and I felt that was a sign of weakness, and that's unfortunate. But even, the guy has stood on his principles for so long that he is someone, I think, at least, and there's maybe some others like him. I actually, Rand Paul. I'm really, really impressed with Rand Paul. Not because, here's the thing. I agree with Bernie on a lot more than I agree with Rand Paul, but I got so much respect for the both of them because I really do feel like they fight for what they believe in no matter what. They're willing to challenge whoever they have to if they're fighting for their principles. Some of these people exist and they make it into politics, and that's inspirational. But these people that are being referred to by this guy, look, first of all, he's making an assumption about what the Republicans actually believe. If there are Republicans in office and they support Trump, maybe they just support Trump. Is that so hard? But let's do this. This was the video I did on the 10 a.m. video I made today. So we have this from the Daily Wire. But let's take a look at this, because I did talk about this on my early morning video. It says in total viewership, CNN fell to Fox, MSNBC, Home and Garden, Investigation Discovery, Nickelodeon. This is from the Daily Wire. But check this out. Fox News, 2.999 million views. MSNBC, 1.8. CNN, 1.01. Add CNN and MSNBC together. And guess what? There are still more Fox News viewers than CNN and MSNBC combined. So they can sit all day and night and rag on Trump all they want. The New York Times can write this article, search your souls, what's left of them. Look, it's basically a fact. If you go up to someone and say, you have no soul, now vote for the person I want you to, you know what they're going to tell you to do? They're going to look you plain in the eyes and they're going to say, go fuck yourself. You lose all opportunity to actually have real conversations with people when you are an asshole to them. And I've known this for a long time. Now, I used to work in fundraising, so I've always known how to communicate effectively. But there was a point where politics were kind of, I don't know, I had no problem tweeting things. I've tweeted things like calling Trump, racist and things like that. And what I realized was, first of all, there are two definitions of the word racist. The left and the right have different versions. And the right tends to use the dictionary definition. And this started to change my way of thinking when I started digging into this. Not because, one day I woke up and said, I agree with these people or those people. No, for the most part, I don't. I still find myself social liberal. But what I did realize is that there are different news sources, and the left defines things differently, and there's really a perspective bubble between the two groups. So I've always felt like when doing interviews, I have to actually listen and understand people. And that's something that's missing. When I went to Sweden, when Paul Joseph Watson said he would pay the travel for anybody who wanted to go to Malmö, and I said I would do it, he donated to my GoFundMe, which I'd already set up, but I got direct messages from people I used to work with at Vice News telling me not to do it. They said, take that money and give it to a charity that helps immigrants. First of all, that would be fraud. I told people I was raising money for a task. I can't just give that money away. But they really wanted me to not do the journalism, and that blew my mind. And so there have been a few people that I have heavily criticized, and I've apologized for it because I try to be respectful. I've been critical of certain journalists. I called this one guy slimy recently because I think he's a liar. But what I realized was if you allow people to make mistakes and you accept their apologies and you be respectful, you have an opportunity to communicate with them. What this guy, Charles M. Blow, is doing, I would say, is virtual signaling. Even though this opinion piece is he's talking to Republicans, he is insulting them. I assure you, very few Republicans, Trump supporters, are going to read this opinion piece and say, wow, Charles, you are right. Because he's insulting them, calling them fervent, saying you have what's left of your souls. I'll just read a little bit from this because I don't want to get into it. I've got another video for you guys today. So, well, you know what? I don't want to read this guy. I don't want to read this guy's thing. Let's read the final closing points. He says, for many, their entire life's work has led them to the halls of Congress. Their political lives and their personal lives are indistinguishable. They are political creatures. They can't imagine their lives apart from the offices they hold. But in a life, there often comes a moment when life asks you of the ultimate ask. And it is only through submitting to what is right, even at great cost, that the rest of one's life can be judged as respectable. This is one of the moments for Republicans. In this moment, they have to separate career goals and personal ambitions for the high requirement to properly serve the country and protect its Constitution. And maybe they disagree with you. Maybe they think you're wrong. And maybe they would say you need to do these same things, okay? Up until this point, these Republicans have failed miserably. In a few months, many will likely be shown to the door in the midterms. Democrats will likely take control of the House and thus will likely conduct investigations, but Republicans now have a window to stand up before they are voted down. To say to history that they may have failed so far, but they came around in the end. They have this moment to snatch a bit of honor from the ashes of what was their party. Republicans, won't you seize this moment? That sounds like a scare tactic. To me, it sounds like they're saying, you're going to get arrested, you're going to get investigated, you better turn now and support the left. But you know what? I'm not so convinced the Democrats are going to win. And I'll give you just one bit of information why. Fox News has more viewership by just close to 100,000, maybe 200,000 viewers than MSNBC and CNN combined. So while that doesn't reflect on the New York Times or digital websites, it's entirely possible that cable news isn't reflective of the voting base. But I have to say, if Fox News on its own is beating MSNBC and CNN and beating them combined, there are a lot of people who are going to vote Republican. And if these numbers are anything to go off of, there are more of them than there are viewers of MSNBC and CNN. But this doesn't mean that it's definitive, because there are different districts, there's gerrymandering, who knows what's going to happen. Personally, I'm leaning slightly towards I don't see a blue wave happening. But I could be wrong. I am no psychic. And when the time comes and the election happens, y'all, and I'm wrong, then you can easily look back and say, Tim, you're a dumbass. And I accept it. But personally, I think the Republicans are going to win. And I've talked to a lot of lefties. I've talked to a lot of, lifelong Democrats who told me, oh, hands down, they think it's going to. I've talked to activists. I have talked to anti-fascist activists who have said, yep, definitely think the Republicans are going to win. They don't think the Dems can do it. Anyway, stick around. I've got another video coming up in just a few minutes.